What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be ranking all the deaths and murders from the Scream franchise in honor of Scream 6 leaving theaters and coming to VOD. I have my resident Scream expert and tier list maker, Seth, from his channel. He had an amazing video ranking the Ghostface Killer, so I brought him with me to rank all these deaths and murders because there's a ton in the franchise. There's a lot of really good standout ones. So the criteria, we're going to make sure that they're iconic kills, gruesome kills, impactful to the story, and just stand out in the franchise. Starting in order of appearance, tier by tier. Starting with the F tier, Principal Hembry. Forgettable, even though he's played by the Fonz. That's the only good thing about it.
Yeah, it's not a great kill. He is definitely a filler kill. Hey, we haven't killed anybody since the beginning of the movie. So, and then Wes Craven's like, well, I guess we'll just kill Fonzie then. As much as I love the Fonz, the way he's like just yelling and when he's getting stabbed is, it's not great either.
No, it's so goofy. Sarah Darling from Scream 3. Also a terrible, shitty kill. She gets like slammed through the glass and then stabbed. And that's it. She actually has a cool scene leading up to it.
Sure, with the multiple costumes and everything. Yeah.
Great setup and
Mm-hmm.
actually hilarious with the phony sword. It
Yeah,
was
there's good
setting up
moments.
to be great, and then no payoff.
No, it's bad.
Also from Scream 3, we have Angelina Tyler, one of my most hated characters. I hated this character. She deserved a much more brutal death, but she basically got an off-screen death, right? Like she kind of gets stabbed and you kind of see her get drug away. I think this is one of the more horrible ones, especially because she was supposed to be a Ghostface killer. You can tell it was a last-minute change.
It's so forgettable, and that's the last thing you want to be in a slasher is forgettable.
Following that, we have Kate Roberts, Jill's mom, stabbed through a mailbox slot in the
Yeah.
door. I think it's one of the worst kills, if not the worst kill in that movie. Her eyes get really big, and that's the only good thing about it because she just doesn't say anything and she dies silently.
Well, and also I'm like, how far did that knife even go into her? Like, it's the knife's going through the door, and then it's got to go enough to get past the slot thing. So it's like she gets stabbed by like this much of a knife, and she's just instantly like, I'm dead.
And with another off-screen death, Officer Clay from Scream 5, when Tara's rolling through the hospital halls and there's nobody else there, he's kind of gasping for air. He's got a little moment where he's
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. But
Yeah.
other off-screen kill, horrible F tier.
Yeah, I mean, he's lying in the puddle of blood, and it really is starting up probably the best sequence in the entire movie, but all the good stuff happens like after he's already dead. So,
And then to close out the F tier, Gail's boyfriend Paul from Scream 6, he gets stabbed off screen while Gail's on the phone. I guess it builds some tension, but we barely even see Paul. Like he's in the background. We never get formally introduced to him at all. There was no weight behind it other than Gail lost another person that she loved.
yeah.
It's an F tier. To kick off the D tier, we're starting with Phil Stevens, the intro to Scream 2. He dies in the bathroom stall. He gets stabbed in the face. It was creative. I don't think I've seen anyone stabbed through a stall before, but
No.
not very impactful for the story. Very forgettable in the long term.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's D tier.
Well, yeah, same thing as with Kate Roberts, right? Like, how much of this knife is hitting this guy? And how hard is Ghostface slamming this through those doors, like those divider things?
Do you know how hard you would have to slam a knife through that to
Yes.
clear it through a skull and the bathroom stall? Mickey must be like juiced.
Mickey is juiced. He's probably like the hulkiest of all of the ghost killers. If we're
Yeah.
just going off power, it's Mickey is number one.
Officer Andrews is next, right? Like he punches through the driver's side window to
That's
slit
right. He
Officer
does.
Andrews' throat. Like Mickey is just crazy strong. Speaking of kills by Mickey, Mickey's just on a run in the D tier here.
Yeah.
He also kills Derek. I feel like he could have at least gotten a little bit cooler of a kill. So I think he has to unfortunately sit in the D tier.
It's boring. It's like he gets shot in the chest and then he like gets lifted up into the rafters and we just forget that he's there for the rest of the finale.
And kicking off Scream 3, we got Christine, Cotton's girlfriend. Also kind of forgettable. She has a good scream, actually.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's probably one of the best intro screams of any death. She really lets it well out.
You get the good shot of like Ghostface running up behind her.
I don't mind Christine. I think the reason that I put her on D tier is Cotton is really the big fish in the scene. Christine gets overshadowed by Cotton's death. I
Mhm.
just think that while she's good, her purpose is literally to fluff up the Cotton scene. And even then, I think Cotton scene isn't that memorable. While Tom Prince is also in the D tier with his house explosion death, he is an S tier dumbass.
Yes.
He went back into the house to read the script pages like an idiot. He decides to light the lighter, ignites the entire house. There's a delay with the lighter and the house exploding, which would not fucking happen.
Yeah. It's long enough so we can read the page. So it's like, "Psh," and you blow up. What? And that's the house.
Whole house exploded for one person.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They should have just been blowing up houses to kill everybody the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Another part of the cast from Scream 3, Tyson, he puts up a good fight. He gets a good rug pull and he does like a full backflip. I love that part.
Yeah, that part's good.
But he does get stabbed and thrown off a balcony and very quickly forgotten about.
We walk into the end of Scream 3 with a lot of people still alive, and so they just have to kind of be like, "We better kill all these people quick." And
Just rapid
also,
fire.
like, I don't care about any of those people in Scream 3 either. Like, it's the most I don't care about anyone in the whole series.
It seems like D tier is covered with Scream 3 characters because you also have John Milton,
Yeah.
the exec, Roman's father. But other than the reveal moment, I mean, he's got a throat slit. He's almost F tier, but he's integral to the plot. So he at
Yeah.
least gets edged out on D. The motivation behind it doesn't even make sense to me because it's like, why would Roman kill his father? His father knows what's going on. It was just Roman's whole thing was a little convoluted. And I just
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
don't know if him killing his dad was the smartest move. I guess it kind of makes a point.
Hey, man, Roman's gonna Roman. So,
Yeah. And with the intro of Scream 4, we have Marnie and Jenny, our opening kills. There was just something about their deaths. I just didn't even care. And with the fake outs, even though I love that, it almost took away from the seriousness of the
yeah.
deaths.
Well, it's one of those things, just like the whole time you're like, is this the real one? Is it actually happening now? And then also, I just really got to call out Jenny getting killed, because when the garage door like comes down and like barely touches her and she's like, oh,
It's almost worthy of an F tier for the garage door. And to close out the D tier, Scream 6, there are two unnamed customers at the convenience store that Ghostface chops up. I'm putting them both on the D tier. They're unnamed. They're not. It was more just like a reflexive killing more than a motivated killing.
I do like this scene, and I do like how much the guy just is just like, hey, what are you doing? And then catches it in the throat. You're just like, oh shoot.
I just love it. I love it. I love your New York accent. Just get stabbed in the neck. Oh, that's hilarious. Now the C tier is stacked. Okay, there's a lot of middle of the road deaths in the franchise. So we're going to try to bust through these as fast as possible. Starting off with Stephen Orth. He is the first death in the franchise, actually. You kind of get some good intestine and gut
Yeah.
scenes. Pretty memorable if you combine it with Casey. But I feel like because he is the honorary first death in the franchise, there's no way you can put him lower than C tier. So then moving on to Tatum. I love Tatum's character. I wish she got a better death.
Oh yes.
Uh, the garage door is creative, but obviously, I think the reason I'm putting it at C is because it obviously she could have squeezed through there.
For me, I think this one's you should be even lower, but it's because of how bad it looks. When she when that dummy catches that, it's the worst looking thing in the entire series, and I'm just like, "What?" It barely looks like they like just took a Halloween mask and painted a face on it. It doesn't.
It's bad.
It's not great.
Another sidekick to Sydney, Hallie McDaniel. She has a great scene escaping the car from Ghostface, but then she just gets stabbed in the background. It's a very, like, you see it coming from a mile away. As soon as you see that Ghostface is no longer in the car, you know she's a goner. The whole scene, I think, elevates Hallie's death because you get two awesome kills right before, good suspenseful scene, and it pays off with Hallie dying, which leads to Sydney running and leaving, which I think leads right
Right
into the
into the
third
ending.
act. Great for the C tier.
Completely agree. That brings us then to that finale for Scream 2. We got Nancy Loomis showing up. We got our first Ghostface killer when it comes to their deaths. It's not that exciting, really. Like, she just gets shot by Cotton.
The kill is very lackluster compared to the awesome chase sequence that they kind of have. Like,
Yeah.
Miss Loomis is going for Sydney and
Yes.
actually gives her probably some of the most trouble she's had in the franchise, other than maybe Roman. Since it is just a double tap with the gun, something about guns, it takes away some of the oomph. I'm happy with putting her in C tier.
So we got Cotton shooting somebody to then Cotton himself dying here next in C tier. It's one of the least memorable openings to the entire series. He isn't in the third one enough for us to even like care what he's doing at all. And he just is like, oh, this is the big kill. We're going to kill off a legacy character. But hey, at least they're killing off a legacy character. So I'll give them that.
And the slash where you don't see the outcome, it does take away from it. You know, the part of the fun is seeing the brutality of the murder. So it can't go any higher than C tier for old Cotton, unfortunately. And rolling on through Scream 3, we have Jennifer, who gets stabbed by Ghostface trying to exit the two-way mirror. The scene is pretty good, and you get the great scream from Gail.
It's like
You know,
her that's dead. She sees
yeah.
herself dead, pretty much.
I wish I could put it higher because I think she was a great character, but unfortunately, I think she's got to go here.
Yeah, I agree. Dewey, he could have saved her if he would have started shooting the mirrors from the other side first.
Absolutely, yeah. And then our Scream 3 killer, Roman, actually dies, and you know, he really puts up a good fight. He gets stabbed a few times. He gets shot like freaking 100 times by Dewey in the chest,
Yeah.
and he finally hits him with the headshot.
For me, what knocks it down is that it's like played as a joke. By the time he finally gets killed, it's Gail and Sydney be like, shoot him in the head, Dewey. And it's like Dewey
Yeah.
has become the spoof version of himself.
He holds Sydney's hand for a second and has that moment where I'm
Mhm.
like, okay,
He
I
was so
I
mad.
kind of feel for him right here, and he immediately takes it back and tries to jump back up. So because of that, he's a bastard and he deserves the C tier actually. Kicking off into Scream 4, we have Deputy Hoss who convinces Perkins that he should do the walk around instead. And through all the fake outness, he actually does end up getting stabbed. It's a quick like run up behind the back stab. It is I guess it plays with for the
Sure.
scene, but it's not the standout of that scene. I think that's really the
No, it's not.
reason that it's as low as it is because there's a great death immediately after that that completely makes
Absolutely.
you forget about Deputy Haas. Now Trevor, one of my most hated characters in the whole franchise, definitely of Scream 4. Here's the thing. He gets a great double tap of a dick shot and
Oh,
a headshot back to back. Jill makes sure his last moments on Earth are the worst possible moments. His death outweighs his shittiness, and he at least gets put on the C tier. And to close out Scream 4, in the C tier, we have another Ghostface, Charlie. After he's betrayed by Jill, he gets stabbed, and that's pretty much it. It's a good twist kill.
it's an easy kill for her too. She didn't have to work for it. Like, he was letting her stab him because they're trying to cover it up and everything.
Moving on to Scream 6, another Ghostface killer, Jason Carvey, at the very beginning. This is a good twist kill. Was not expecting the reverse around. I mean, when he lifted his mask, I kind of expected something weird was happening. Didn't expect him to die though. You know, even though it's a good start off to the movie, I do think the kill is one of the least impressive of the franchise. To keep going with the Scream 6 Ghostface train, we have Quinn and Ethan. I think Ethan's is a little better in a way than Quinn's because Quinn's is a gunshot. At least with Ethan, we get a quick stab. He gets called a virgin, and then a TV gets slammed on his head by Kirby. A little, Kirby action coming from. She didn't have that much to do in Scream 6, really. So she at least got to take out one of the Ghostface killers. Now, we're to the above average B tier, starting with cameraman Kenny from Scream 1.
Right.
He has a heroic death. He's trying to protect Sydney. He tries to close the door. He tries to warn Sydney as he's dying. Totally a B tier worthy man.
The way he shows up again after he's dead, like the blood all over the windshield, it's pretty great. And she throws his body off the car she's
Gale.
driving. Kale does. Jeez. Now we go up to Scream 2, looking at Cece get thrown off of a building and splatting on the concrete below. It's a surprise too. She's a big name, kind of similar to like what it was like with Drew Barrymore, but not quite to that level.
It's brutal. She gets thrown through a door. She gets stabbed multiple times, then thrown off of the balcony. Since she's technically honoring Casey Becker, I feel like a lot of that channels with her. They really want to make sure she had a good death. Moving to Scream 3, we have the only man to rival the god tier power of Dewdrop, and that is Steven Stone. Not only does he put up a good fight, he has the willpower to walk himself to the front of the house and wait to die in front of everybody.
And it really kind of establishes that Scream 3 killer too, like as like a threat, because like this was the bodyguard. Then in Scream 5, Vince, and he gets killed to like the Red Right Hand song, which is why kills is one of my favorites in the entire series. He gets that neck stab too. It's just so fast and seems so effortless.
I hate Vince. I hate his
Yeah.
character. Ghostface sitting over and looking over the body as it like slowly crawls. It's just a really good, effective kill.
It's the first kill of
It's
the
the
movie.
first kill. That's right, because
Mhm.
Tara doesn't die, right?
Yep.
So we're setting the stage very early in Scream 5. You get that nice kill. You kind of see what we're getting into.
Then we jump from the beginning of the movie to kicking off the third act, literally, right? When Liv gets shot in the head by Amber.
It gives you no time to like register that Liv just died. It's like a roller coaster almost. That's the tipping point for Act 3. And then all after that is nothing but thrills. So it's one of the only high-ranking gun kills in the franchise for me, only because of the context of the gravity of the situation that happens with it. Rolling into Scream 6, we have Laura, our opening kill. Her death serves the purpose of really moving into Jason Carvey. So she's more just like a prelude to the real intro. I do think she's worthy of the B tier.
I mean, I love Samara Weaving. So her showing up and then being in that first scene, you're almost like, oh, okay, well, she's gonna die. Like if she hadn't been in the first scene, you'd have been like, oh, she's gonna be in it more. But once she's the first one there, they really, oh, hey man, they really could have got you if she'd been the killer. They really could have got you.
Now, going back to the convenience store scene from Scream 6, the convenience store owner gets killed by his own shotgun that Ghostface reverses from him. I think it's the first kill with a shotgun with a Ghostface killer.
I think so.
Just that alone in the reversal, it's pretty high for me.
The character doesn't even get named, but is memorable and fun in a way where they're like trying to actually help and like more than most the cops do in this series.
It was off screen, but you see the blood splatter.
Yeah.
And if you would have gotten full visual, it could have even topped A to
It would have been a lot.
tier. So next, Sam's shitty therapist from Scream 6 that literally tells her to express her feelings, and then as soon as she does, he says, "Get the fuck out of my office." He's the most horrible therapist of all time. He comes just knocking on his front door
Mhm.
and murders him outright. And it's one of the most forward kills that Ghostface has. He gets stabbed in the face.
Any face trauma, like specifically like with getting stabbed in the face, is always like, oh gosh, you realize like how easy that could happen to you.
And to close out the B tier, probably one of the biggest differences that me and Seth have, I think Detective Wayne Bailey, he has a great death. I think Sam serves him his due diligence. He thinks he's such a smart and well planned out Ghostface. He has all this bullshit around it. And Sam hits him with his own medicine, puts on the Ghostface mask, channels the inner Billy, and just brutalizes him.
You had it up in A. I had this in D tier. I understand you like, and a lot of people seem to like when Sam just starts like going to town on people. For me, I'm like, maybe the first time I see it happen, I'm like, okay. But I was like, you're just doing the same thing again. Like, this is just how the last movie ended. If it works for you, it works for you. That's great. It did not do anything to elevate Wayne Bailey as a character or anything in my memory.
I just like Sam's reversal of it. I do think she went a little overboard. I like that Sam uses her evil for the good. of the
Sure.
group, she's willing to take out the trash of the ghost face. She does try to tread that dangerous territory of like, is she a good guy? Like, you
She's a real Punisher situation here.
yeah,
So,
and she leaves the mask on the ground. So in my opinion, if that's her last brutal kill in the next movie, she's like, I'm actually fighting the ghost face tendencies. This could have a little more weight with me. If
sure.
she goes right back into machine gun stabbing people, then the leaving of the mask doesn't hold as much weight with me. Now we're getting to the very iconic kills from Scream in the A tier, Stu Macher and Billy, right? Two
Yeah.
ghost face killers from Scream 1, both in the A tier. While they are amazing Ghostface killers and they start off the entire franchise, they're a huge reason why everyone fell in love with this franchise. Their deaths are a little lackluster compared to some of the other kills in the franchise. Billy gets tortured a lot with the umbrella stabs and stuff,
Yeah.
but he ends out with the gunshot. Stu, debatably, is killed by the TV. There's a lot of speculation our guy is still alive.
I'd be all for it. But if you're saying he's dead, he died in a great way. I mean, that TV is huge. So if it landed on your head, you probably would be dead. Scream 2 has a couple really good kills that we've got in the A tier as well. First off, we got Randy, and Randy is like that first real legacy character that eats it, right? And it hurts because it's like, man, there could have been good stuff with Randy, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad they didn't mess up Randy. Like, they didn't take the chance, like they didn't get a chance to do that. It's a great scene, lots of tension, in that they're actively trying to find the killer. Backs up to that van, and you're just like, this is it, and then it is. It would maybe go higher if you saw it happen, but it's pretty bloody. You do get to see him afterwards, at least.
Get the great Gale scream, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the spirit of Randy lives on, but he's definitely one of the more iconic kills of the franchise. So
Yeah, for sure.
solidified his place in the A tier for sure.
And then we finish off Scream 2 with Mickey's death. And man, we've been talking up Mickey all night. And this guy is a tank, and he goes out like a tank too. Like, you think he's dead because Mrs. Loomis shoots him and he's out of commission for like the whole actual like finale of the movie. But then he's the one who blasts up at the end because they already popped Mrs. Loomis in the head, and he jumps up. But then he just gets wasted by Sydney and Gale, and it's great.
He gets met with the firing squad. I think they had already double tapped. They don't even consider Mickey. He's the one that jumps up. And he jumps up like similar to Billy, where he doesn't even attack. He just goes.
He does like this big like turn, like, wow.
And they just light him up. It's he's
So
getting.
good.
Oh, dude, it's one of the best. Because it's not one bullet, I'm willing to put it on the A tier. So now transitioning into Scream 4, we have Rebecca. She gets a good tense sequence with Ghostface to then eventually just get ran up on and stabbed. I thought that was the end of it. But then you get the cherry on top of she's thrown off a building and slams into the news van. Everybody sees it, instantly threw it up to the A tier for me. That is one of the more flashy Ghostface kills I've seen.
Yeah, it's awesome. Whenever somebody gets thrown off of a building and smashes into a car in any movie, I'm always like, great. It's always.
And then we have Robbie, who has one of the more hilarious deaths for me because I love the punchline that they pay off with where he says that he's gay, hoping that saves him.
Sure.
And then he immediately gets killed. I think Charlie killing him adds a layer to it because him and Robbie were actually homies.
Yeah.
And then you have Robbie, stumbling to the porch to warn Sydney and the gang. So while we meet Judy Hicks in Scream 4, she doesn't die until Scream 5, where she gets brutally stabbed multiple times. This is where you kind of find out Amber's death style as a Ghostface killer. She really likes to wildly stab, and I love her style of killing. And it stands out a lot with Judy because it does happen on her front yard. You think that her son Wes is about to die,
Yeah.
and nope, reversal. And she's the sheriff.
Yeah.
Like the balls that you have to have as a ghost face. Anyone willing to kill a sheriff, like Woodsboro, should have been on high alert at instantly, but like
Yes.
nothing happens. Your sheriff just died.
Yeah, it's a great kill. You feel it because like she's so scared, like not just for her, like she's not scared for herself, like she's scared for her kid. So I think it plays in a way that we hadn't really seen in the series before and everything. So it just give it its own unique feel and everything. So yeah, I really like that one.
And rolling with Scream 5, we have our ghost face reveals with Richie and Amber. I do love Richie and his death sequence. I think Sam, going crazy on him, similar to how Amber does, but she's way more into it. Like she's
Hmm.
focused almost in a
Yeah.
trance. And I like the one liner she throws to Richie before she slits his throat, like, here's your ending. We've never really seen Sydney just lose all composure,
Mm-mm.
and Sam went all the way. And I think Sam highlights Richie's death more. I think Sam's the standout in Richie's death more than Richie is.
And it's kind of funny to me when you look in the mirror and she sees like Billy and he's like,
Yeah. And the knife, yeah.
yeah. It's also like always kind of like trying to figure out, I was like, okay, well, like it's not really Billy. She's just like, it's just all in her head. Like it's not like that would be crazy if the movie ended up being like, no, it's actually Billy's
It's Ghost
ghost.
Billy.
And
Yeah.
then like it's Billy's ghost versus Stumacher. That's Scream 7. I'd be all about that.
With a great ghost face like Amber, you have to have a great death sequence for her. She's killed our guy Dewey, which we're getting to later, and there's just a lot of weight that comes with Amber. She's great to be hated. She's taken on Gail and Sydney, and she just won't die. So when she finally does die, it pays off so well. She gets shot in the head finally after being burned alive. I think she's gotten beat up, stabbed. I think she's gotten shot by Gail
Yeah.
already.
Hmm.
So it's just a good torturous death for her. Almost S tier if it wasn't a gunshot. And moving along to Scream 6, we have Greg, who is the other Ghostface with Jason Carvey, who we find has been murdered and put inside of Jason's fridge. Even though this is an off-screen death, there's something so sadistic and fucked up about a Ghostface killer dismembering a person. I think it's the first time that we've seen one go that far, place the body in the fridge for someone else to find, which leads to Jason's death. It could be a little controversial, but I think A tier is pretty high for this.
It's probably like the biggest shock moment I had in Scream 6 was when he opens the fridge and he's just all in there.
And along with that, you have Annika, who I think has probably the best death sequence of the entire movie. The crossing the ladder scene, the falling to your death, hitting the head on the dumpster. It's just such a brutal kill, man. I love it.
It is. I think it's funny that Ghostface felt like shaking the ladder was the way to go. Like you could push or pull the ladder and like that would have been just as effective. But then also like the fact that the head hit on the way down on the dumpster, I feel like is just a little extra sadistic. Not like that Ghostface did it, but that the people making the movie did it.
It takes the extra step to add a little more brutality, even though Ghostface didn't intend for her to hit her head on the dumpster. It does add that extra layer. It would have been boring just to hit splat and hit the pavement.
Yeah.
We've seen that a few times now. Now we're at the holy grail of the Scream franchise, aka the S tier. And who else would start off S tier other than Casey Becker herself? The most iconic kill, arguably, of the entire franchise is Drew Barrymore's death.
Yeah.
I think it is an incredible start off to the franchise. For those who haven't seen it, it's a great like starting point. You know exactly what you're getting into with the franchise. And if you've seen it 1,000 times, I feel like that scene's just as good every time that
Mhm.
you see it. Totally worthy of S tier. And anyone that doesn't have it at the S tier is not a real Scream fan. I'm saying that.
Oh
I'm saying that.
gosh.
I'm putting it out there.
Good thing this video is on your channel. You got to deal with the comments then. All right. Uh, I think that it's so effective just because like how many times like she almost can get away, right? Like she's got the phone. Her parents are on the phone with her. Like her mom's hearing her get cut open. It's so messed up and so sad, like just from the beginning. And I really do appreciate these movies when they let those kills be sad. So then that takes us into Maureen, another great opening kill, right? Technically not the opening kill for either movie, but the big kill. And in the opposite way that A is for Casey, where it's like she's by herself, she's in her house, everything, and that can be a scary thing. For Maureen, she's in this completely packed theater and she still gets killed. Nobody knows what's going on. And it is, I mean, it plays out well in the scene. You take it out of context and everything. Her getting up in front of the screen and like screaming and everything is like that's kind of weird that she's doing that. But like just watching the movie and everything is like, oh dang man, this plays so well. And she didn't even want to be there. She didn't even want to be watching the movie,
Yeah.
which is the worst part.
Yeah.
But man, it's so good.
I think what's great about her death is it is out in the public. There's a big task in following up the Casey Becker kill in Scream 1,
Mhm.
and the fact that they were able to match that at all, if not possibly surpass that, depending on who you're talking to,
Sure.
that's a standout. Even though, Phil wasn't as good in the bathroom, I think it makes it with Maureen in the, super overdramatic death scene.
Now, take everything I was just saying about how I like these kills to be sad and everything, and just completely ignore that because Officer Richard's death is high on this, and it's an S tier because he catches that rebar right through the head, and it's just again head trauma, face trauma. It's a no no.
He's a non-character. You might be asking, how can he be all the way in the S tier with people like Maureen and Casey Becker? Listen, the twitch that this guy does,
Yes.
holding his gun, he's still like twitching in his gun. His face, you literally see the poles are through his face. And mind you, Sydney and Holly have to climb over a Ghostface killer with this dude's face just impaled a few inches away from them. Like, just the stakes and everything that happens with Officer Richards, especially because his partner just gets a little throat slice and he gets absolutely fucking brutalized. He's an S tier character for sure. So jumping over to Scream 4, we have Olivia, aka Liv. Charlie guts the shit out of her, and it's probably one of the more intense sequences of the franchise when it comes to a kill. You know, blood is literally covering the entire room, intestines are everywhere. We really got to see how the gore was amped up huge in Scream
Yeah.
4 with Olivia. They use her as a showcase, but she's getting stabbed in the hand. We get to see the helplessness of Kirby watching from across in the window, and just it's just a hopeless situation. I think it's one of the better kills of the franchise, and it's definitely a standout for.
You're right though. Like this is probably one of the goriest. Like it's like you're seeing what happened to Casey happen in the movie. That then brings us into Deputy Anthony Perkins. I don't know, man. This might be the top. This might be the best one out of all of them. He just gets straight stabbed in the forehead and he's just like stumbling around like, ah,
Fuck Bruce Willis.
that's right.
Um, it's an amazing kill because it makes no sense. Apparently, it's based off of a real thing. I
Hmm.
love that he gets out and he's still swinging. He's got a little bit of fight
Yeah.
with him. Like the fact that he puts up that much effort after we're talking about the same blade that cut through a bathroom stall and a man's cheek and killed him. Anthony Perkins takes that to the forehead, full knife, and is still swinging. Dude has the heart of a lion.
He's probably the only character that could handle like 15% of Sydney's full power.
Yeah.
Right.
Moving on to our Ghostface death in Scream 4, we have Jill. An incredible last act with her, right? We've seen her torture herself. She's jumping through tables. She's stabbing herself. She's going all out for this. She's right there at the finish line, and Sydney just will not die. So she goes and she tries to finish off Sydney in the hospital. She beats the shit out of Dewey with a fucking piss can. She, Gail is trying her best. Judy's trying her best, and finally, Sydney puts her with the clear with the defibrillator, and they finish her off with the gunshot to the chest. That's a tough woman, right? That like I've never seen someone with such a will to live through so many injuries for the fame of it all.
Yeah.
It's such a great like kill because of how much weight that Jill carries because she almost got away with it. I think more than anything, it's just the fact that she's such a dedicated and like crazy ghost face to she's willing to kill her family, her mom and her cousin in order to get this fame. So
Yeah.
her death is just extra sweet.
It fits like everything that you want at the end of a Scream movie, right? The clear to the head is great and would have been a nice finisher, but you know, it's understandable that you got to do the one more shot in honor. Then we're going to jump up to Scream 2022 or Scream 5, Wes, right? So this is Judy's son. And this kill is as high as it is because it does have a great build. And then when he finally gets it, catches it in the neck and you see it, and then it pokes out the other side. And it's just like, it's nasty.
Yeah, the graphic nature of the kill is what really makes it stand out,
Yeah.
especially because he's named Wes, obviously after Wes Craven. He gets a nice brutal attack. He's reaching for the taser. You think he might have a chance, and then slowly that knife just goes into the throat, man. And what better way to close out the S tier and this tier list than with the man himself, Mr. Dewdrop Dewey Riley. He gets killed by Amber. Took 2 knives to kill Dewey. She
That's
learned.
right.
She studied up on the previous times that Dewey's been killed. She realized that 1 knife was not enough. Had to go in with the double knives, the front and back, and ripped upwards. She made sure that he was going to die. It has to be S tier. Even if you hate the kill, you hate that Dewey died, you have to understand how great of a kill it really is.
I just love the scene. I love the way the music builds as he's walking back. It's the coolest Dewey ever is.
Yeah, they definitely let Dewey end on a great high note. He's so pathetic in the rest of the sequels. They actually give him like a badass action death. He's full on cowboy in this movie. It's probably one of the most impactful deaths of the entire franchise. From like an emotional weight, he holds the most weight from any death. So that's our list. Let us know where you would change any of our rankings. So what's your list? We would love to discuss in the comments with you. And be sure you jump over to Seth's channel. He's almost at 1,000 subscribers. He has an amazing Scream tier list video ranking all of the Ghostface killers. And if it weren't for Seth, I probably would have never watched the Scream franchise in the first place, which means I wouldn't have gotten to meet half of you that joined the Dork Side very recently. So thank you so much, Seth, for encouraging me. It was a great franchise.
Absolutely.
I love ranking these deaths.
Thanks for letting me be here and talk these characters with you and these deaths.
Yeah, man. A happy Screamathon, everybody. Peace.